What's going on, everybody? Jackass with ApexHead.com bringing you the conclusion to the I Am No Expert series for F1 2011 anyway. And this will be round 19 in our one and only season here with F1 2011. And right now running 6th in the standings, probably what will end up being on the season depending on how this last race shakes out. Interlagos is one of my favorite tracks on the calendar here in Brazil. You can see my team objective is to finish 5th, and this will be my first race at Sao Paulo using no racing line, manual gears, and cockpit view. And leave it to the last race of the season to get my best qualifying result here in 2nd place behind Jenson Button in the McLaren, and Nico Rosberg there in 4th position, and my teammate all the way down into 18th, so obviously a massive difference between us. Given the car here, and Maldonado and Barrichello finishing 16th and 17th, so a pretty disappointing qualifying session for the Williams. Let's have a look at our setup here, our final setup. And I should say that these settings feel very good here at Brazil. Sometimes you don't notice a big difference between the quick setups versus a custom setup, but in the case of Brazil I did notice a big difference. And maybe it's just because I enjoy the track more, but I really did feel I was getting more out of the car using these settings, so take that for what it's worth. Going to start on the option tires, and down to 85% because of my qualifying session, and we are due to pit in lap 6 to put on the primes. You get into that 85% range, a little bit lower in terms of the tire wear rate, and it can be very, very dicey getting the car around to get on the new sets of tires. So hopefully that's not going to cost me in the way of an off or just losing a lot of time to anyone behind me. Going to have to make some hay on the opening lap and see if I can get ahead of Jenson and maybe ride that out till my pit stop. And that'll be my strategy as we start off here for the final race of the season. Here we go. Racing with Jenson on the inside as we head into turn 1 and have to slow down. And Jenson goes a little bit wide there and able to exploit and take the lead. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. Thought it might take a little longer to do that. But you can see now extending the gap out pretty good coming around those first couple sets of corners. And so, of course, the objective will be to stay ahead. But again, because of my tire rate, wear rate, excuse me, I'm a little concerned about what that's going to do for my pace as the race wears on. Remember, we have to pit at the end of lap 6. And that's going to mean keeping these tires in pretty good shape. So we'll see what happens here as Jenson peeks around on the inside for just a moment, but able to stay ahead of him along the inside of this very wide left-handed hairpin. And now coming around here in 2nd gear, almost go off onto the grass, but able to keep it on track, and now accelerating through here again. And in practice I was having a hard time with this corner. Going to be conservative and make sure I don't go off to the right there. And Jenson was able to close the gap momentarily, but now able to stretch out. That's normally where I would use my KERS coming up that hill. And you can see I'm using the KERS now. And not able to build up much of a gap here as Jenson now having a look on the inside and thinking about it. And small window here, but Jenson does not have a chance to get through, and I'm able to fend him off for now. But of course we've got a long race to go here, now skipping ahead to the end of lap 2, and you can see that Jenson is still breathing down my neck, competing for 1st place. And now coming into turn 1, start to get the braking point wrong, and now Jenson's going to have a move here on the outside. And he's able to get around me for just a moment, now contact with the McLaren and have to fall back and yield. And just hope that I can stick with him down this stretch now as Vettel gets in on the action, riding up in the Red Bull from behind. See if we can make a move here, and we have to slow down. Very slight contact with the back of button. And now coming along here to this left-handed sweeper, coming up to the bending right here as I turn up my fuel mix, trying to maintain any kind of an advantage that I can. Now going to have a look on the inside here, and there is slight contact with Jenson, now looking on the outside and wheel to wheel for just a moment and able to stay ahead of him. So not exactly the most graceful overtake in the world, but gets the job done and able to get P1 back. But again, I am on the option tires, which you can see now have degraded pretty significantly as we start lap 4. And this is exactly what I was worried about going out to start the race, and you can see that Jenson definitely has the pace over me, and I'm basically just sticking with the racing line and hoping that I can stay ahead of him. But with every lap and every corner, that becomes more and more of a challenge. As you can see, Jenson's able to stick with me here. But it's going to be only a matter of time before I start hitting some of these corners and the car starts getting away from me, and you can see that I'm being very, very careful. Right now I'm much more interested in maintaining my position than I am setting fastest lap times, although it would be a luxury if I was able to build up some kind of a gap before I go into pit, but my tires are not going to afford me that luxury as we come up here to the end of lap 4. And still running the higher fuel mix as we skip ahead here to lap 5, and you can see I set purple in sector 1. But that really doesn't mean anything with the McLaren, who's desperate to get around me at this point. And I'm just going to be as conservative as I can. I've got about another lap and a half to go before I can get some fresh tires. And you can see I get my entry wrong coming into that corner, and that's the exact type of mistake that Jensen will take advantage of if I give him the opportunity. And you can see that my tires are now very red, not as red as they could be, but getting there as I go a little wide there. And still just trying to maintain my position and not let the car get too far away from me, even though I'm not hitting these corners the way that I should. Now the engineer suggesting that I come into pit, but I'm going to go ahead and ignore that because I'm worried about traffic. And here we are at the start of lap 6, and again, not handling turn 1 quite as well as I should. And Button is trying to take advantage of that. I was hoping that he might go into pit, but he did not, so we will probably be pitting in the same lap. And that could have an impact on how it all shakes out. As you can see, all the traffic behind me building up. Jensen Button with Vettel right behind him in the Red Bull. And I'm not able to get any kind of gap built because of my tires. So now, mercifully, coming up to the end of lap 6 and finally going to go in, and you can see just how shot my tires are. And that's had a lot to do with not being able to get ahead and having some near offs. But ultimately, so far so good. Going to go ahead and drop my fuel mix down to lean, and yes, Jensen is coming into pit as expected, so I should beat him out unless I get held up in traffic, not unlike Spa, which was a miserable pit stop due to traffic. And this time the team actually rebounds from a couple of poor races and gets me down to at least 4.5. And even though that's not a very fast time in real life, it's light years better than what the team's been giving me the last couple of outings. Now we've got kind of this long bending left-handed exit from the pit lane, and slight contact on the left-hand side. I bumped my wheel against the barrier there, and basically I'm completely fortunate that my tire wasn't punctured, or that it wasn't more of a problem. And now contact with Vettel on the left-hand side. His front wing is gone, and I started to go wide there, and Vettel was going to make a move on the inside. And now the engineer advising me that he has significant damage, so did not mean to do that to Vettel. I was trying to get back on the racing line, and contact was made, but no message from the stewards, so they're going to chalk it up as a racing incident as we skip ahead to the start of lap 8. And you can see that I've jumped from 9th to 4th as I maul the curb there. And looks like we're going to be coming into P4, and here comes Rosberg out of the pit, and we're going to be racing down to the long braking point here, and should be able to make a move, and we are able to do so without contact. Very clean overtake, much better than what we saw with Vettel the last time around. So able to get up into P3, now chasing Button down, and the real question is who is the leader? Have they gone into pit or not? We'll have to wait and see as we skip ahead to the end of lap 8 and the start of lap 9, which would prove to be the fastest lap of the race, for me I should say. And now that we have our primes nice and warmed up and a lighter fuel load, this is going to be our opportunity to ideally close the gap with Jensen Button, who is just up ahead of me. And I can see now that Mark Webber is leading the race, and that could very well mean that we're going to be fighting for 3rd spot, but not sure if Webber's gone into pit, so we're going to have to wait and find out. Rosberg now almost just had the same problem that happened with Vettel. And you can see that I'm turning my fuel mix back down to standard. I'm going to go ahead and save this fuel until near the end of the race. Have not been able to maximize very much of the higher fuel mix for Sao Paulo. Some tracks are very generous about it and others are not. And much like Spa, Sao Paulo not very forgiving as I get this turn all wrong. And Rosberg was thinking about diving in on the inside there, but I was able to close the door just in time. I had built up just enough of a gap to be able to afford the error, and Rosberg not able to take advantage. So now coming up to the end of lap 9, and my fastest time up until this point is a 1:14.119, and I see Webber has gone into pit, so that's good news. That should put us up into P2, and able to get the fastest lap of 1:14.052, so very, very close to a 1:14 dead for my best lap of the race. But you can see I'm immediately one up by Jenson Button there for the fastest lap of the race, and now Rosberg competing very, very hard down the straight. And I'm going to have to be very, very careful with how I handle my braking point. Remember, this is where the AI has been keen to get around me, and able to handle the racing line pretty well this time around, and that's able to keep Rosberg at bay. We've got just over 4 laps to go here, and I don't want to be making any mistakes as we skip ahead to near the end of the race. Still maintaining P2 without incident, but have to navigate this back marker up here as we come through the last sector, and the last thing we want is contact with a car as we're trying to at least hold down P2. And Weber making a push there for just a moment, now has to back off thanks to the HRT. And even though we won't be able to get the victory, a very, very satisfying result to finish up this season. Going to go ahead and finish in P2 here, and we'll see how that shakes out in terms of the final standings. I don't think that I was able to beat Alonso, which was my target. He was my rival, and unfortunately not able to get the victory, but still very, very good result. As we take a look at the results here, Jenson Button of course getting the win, and Petrov in the Lotus Renault just behind me in third. And there's Alonso in P5, so that's a good sign in terms of the final point standings. My teammate there, Adrian Sutil, finishing in P15, and Toro Rosso able to collect the last of the points in 9th and 10th. And as you can see, every team able to get their car home. No DNFs here in the finale, which is a positive thing for everyone leaving the season. So let's take a quick look at the season results. Haven't been showing you much of these throughout the year. But this is where it all ends up. So there I am in P6 in the championship, not able to finish ahead of Alonso, unfortunately. And you can see that Sauber was able to finish in the mid-range on the year. And of course, here's a number of drivers that didn't get any points, which comes as no real shock. But able to carry Force India to 4th in the Constructors' Championship, so that's exciting. And this is something that I've been tracking all year. It's the driver productivity rankings. I've basically just been charting the AI in terms of average gain or loss of positions for every race. And this is how the season would shake out. Feel free to pause it if you're interested. And you can find all of the driver rankings week by week on my website, apexhead.com, and check out the F1 2011 data analysis section if you want to see how that's progressed. Pretty interesting. I might do that with my 2012 series, which is coming up next, beginning the 3rd week of September. I'm going to be getting F1 2012 on day 1. And we'll be recording as soon as possible, so I hope that you're able to stick around and come back and check that out when it's available. But for now, it's been a lot of fun posting these videos. I think I started this series back in April and didn't expect it to take as long as it has. And I think my original idea was to have it post alongside the True F1 season, then I realized, oh geez, well with F1 2012 coming out in September, that's probably not going to work as well, so kind of been cramming the last few weeks to get this series done. But I hope you've enjoyed it. And feel free to check out my channel for a number of other F1 2011 videos and Forza 4 as well, including a number with commentary. You can find links for all of those playlists in the description. And hopefully those will keep you occupied until the next time. And I want to thank everybody for their positive feedback and support throughout this series. It's meant a lot to me. And hope to see you all again in the next series. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon.